Good morning, Facebook. Waiting on Instagram for once. Typically, we're always waiting on Facebook. Okay, good morning, Instagram. All right, everyone, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show, brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence. My name is Julie Brower, and I am a TA serving for the Older Adult Division, and that is alongside our lead faculty, Dustin Jones and Christina Previtt. So it's Wednesday, which means it's Jerry on Ice Day. So let's just go over a few announcements on that front. So our live courses, we have a lot coming up. November 6th, we're going to be in Massillon, Ohio. January 8th, we're going to be in Fenton, Michigan at Health HQ. January 15th, we're going to be in Hendersonville, Tennessee at Onward, Tennessee. And then for our online course, our next 8-week cohort starts on January 5th. And another very big announcement, Jeff Musgrave, one of our TAs, he is going to be making his PT on Ice Daily Show debut the first week in November. I think it's November 3rd or 4th. He may totally kill me that I'm announcing this, but make sure you guys are all tuning in. It's a new face. He's going to be able to bring a lot of value. Super excited to get him on the mic. So make sure you are tuning in that Wednesday. Okay, so our topic today is why to get stronger is a BS therapy goal. So these very superficial general goals, I really believe are contributing to a lot of our burnout, a lot of our colleagues' burnout. I think it's wasting our time, and it's definitely wasting our patients' time. So if we think about these scenarios, let's say you have an older adult and you're going to eval them and you ask them their goals and they tell you, well, just to get stronger, and you end it there. You don't dig any further. Or another scenario where you are following up on another therapist patient, you're chart reviewing, you're trying to plan for the day and what you're going to do with them, and you're looking at the goals, and they say things like to return to PLOF, to be independent, to do for myself. And that's all you have. Maybe you walk into your patient's room of someone like an inpatient rehab, and typically they're on the whiteboard, they have a goal set, and once again it says something like to be independent. And you ask the patient, hey, like, what do you want to work on today? What are your goals? I don't know. I mean, you're the boss, you tell me what to do. These are all huge red flags, right? Like, clearly things are not dialed in. And we need to really be thinking about what are the negative consequences of these very general, superficial goals. Like, if we only have that amount of information, do we really think we're going to be able to choose the most appropriate assessments and outcome measures to run that are going to help us stratify risk and really help us develop that plan of care to identify deficits? If this is the only information we have, how do we feel like we're going to be able to develop a plan of care that is relevant and meaningful? How are we going to choose exercises that are relevant and meaningful? I mean, forget appropriately dosing. How are we even going to choose what to do? How do we expect, if we are following up on another therapist patient, that we're going to be able to provide a quality session if that's only the information that we have? If our patient is 100% not dialed into their own goals, if they don't even know, how do we expect them to buy into what we're selling? And how do we expect them to take control of their own recovery? And what happens is that I think that this is leading to a lot of us reverting back to underdose therapeutic exercise. right? We go into autopilot mode. And I'm thinking of a particular scenario where being PRN in the hospital and I am meeting strangers every single day, I'm following up on other therapists, patients. You have to plan for how many patients in a day. And you walk in the room and you're trying to figure out what their goal is. You're trying to come up with what exercises to do, and you have no direction. The patient has no idea what they're working towards. They can't verbalize it to you. And so you're exhausted because you've had to trying to plan for 8 people plus in a day. And so you're cognitively overloaded. You just don't have the energy to start over with this patient and really figure out what's going on. So what do? We say, you know what, let's just get them going on that archaic lower extremity HEP, because at least it's something and they can start moving, right? We revert back to that. And deep down, we know this is not helpful to our patient. Like, we know this is not going to get them stronger. This is not going to get them better. But it's just all we have to work with right now. And it's all the energy that we have to give. And then we probably feel bad, right? We know deep down this is not helpful, and we're not going to be proud of this work. And that is going to lead us to burnout. If that is how we feel when we go see our patients all day, every day. And I have this little fancy piece of paper here. I have this quote written down from Jeff Moore. I have had this hung up for over a year, probably a year and a half, almost 2 now. And on one of his podcasts, he says, even doing a moderate amount of low quality work is exhausting. When you are proud of everything you do not burn out. A guaranteed route to burnout is scaling a mediocre product. When we don't dig into our patient's goals and we just go in autopilot mode, most of us are not proud of that work. And that is going to lead to burnout. If we are trying to deliver PT 2.0, we realize that we have to be insatiably curious about our patient. We have to give a damn. We have to dig deep. We have to find out what is meaningful to our patient, exactly who they want to be. For older adults, we have to dig and figure out exactly how they want to elevate their aging experience. We realize that we do not have time for superficial goals. If you think about it from the different settings, in acute care, you may have 1 shot, maybe 2 shots to get this right, to dig in, to find out what's meaningful, and to set them on the right path. In home health, you may have a 30-day or 60-day episode, but at most you may be seeing them 2 days a week. We don't have time for superficial goals. We have to dial this in as quickly as possible so that we get the most appropriate assessments done. We develop the most relevant and appropriate plan of care so that we can get to work and we can create the plan of care that is efficient, effective, and meaningful. And we realize that taking the time, even if we have to start over with this patient, preferably we do this right the first time. But if we realize that taking the time, even if we have to go all the way back to square one with a patient that's not even ours and we may not see them again, we realize there is going to be a massive ROI there for ourselves and the patient. The patient is going to be set on the right path, and we are going to be satisfied and proud of the work that we have done. So in real time, what does this look like? Digging into goals. So I'm going to tell you guys a story about Paula. Paula is a patient that I followed up on. She was not my patient. I was covering for someone else's territory. So I am in home health right now, and I don't have my own territory yet, which means I'm driving all over Charlotte and covering other people's patients. And so I'm chart reviewing Paula beforehand, and I see right away that she has a goal to get stronger and to be independent. I realized she has a goal for a Tenetti, and her last few notes were basically 100% copied and pasted one from the other. So I have no helpful information. I have no helpful information whatsoever. I have no direction from reading through these notes where I should be going with this patient. I'm realizing that I am going to have to start over at 0. And honestly, I've gotten to a point where I love starting over at 0 because I get to unlearn this patient from any negative things that she's been told or a non-optimal plan that she's been put on, and I get to switch it up for her and send her down a better path. Yes, it takes a lot of time. Yes, it is exhausting, but it is so incredibly worth it. And if you guys realize that, you will feel the same way, and you will 100%, even if it takes you twice as long as it would for another patient, you are going to be so much more satisfied with the work that you did that day for that patient. So I go in and I see Paula, and I just ask, Paula, what are your goals? If this PT is successful, what are you going to be able to do that you may not be able to do right now? And I will say that obviously we want them to give us something really good and juicy with just asking that question. It does not happen very often, right? You have to go a lot of different routes, and you have to dig a lot to figure out exactly what that patient's goal is. And so sometimes that could just be, what is success for you? Sometimes that is, I am asking, Paula, if you felt like Superwoman, you're strong, you're healthy, like what are you able to do in a day? How are you spending your day? You can ask them, Paula, what is one activity that you love to do that brings you joy and purpose? What is that activity? What is that hobby? Paula, it's Saturday. It's 30 to 60 days from now. You feel like we were successful with our therapy. How are you spending your day? Right? There's so many different ways that you can go about digging into this. And you just have to know that your first question is not going to be your last. You're going to have to dig really deep and continue to ask questions. So when I start to ask these questions to Paula, she is telling me, well, I would be able to, just like get up on my own. She's sitting in her recliner. And I'm like, okay, do you want to be able to get up with your walker? Does that matter? Do you want to be able to do it without a walker? So again, I'm trying to dig in. Is it important for her that she's using or not using her assistive device? And she said, no, I'm okay with doing it with a walker. I said, okay, well, why is this important to you? Why is being able to get up important to you? And she couldn't really tell me much from that. I'm trying to put it into more of like a functional context, and I was trying to lead her there, but she wasn't really taking it. So I had to, pivot there. So, okay, Paula, being able to get up for your recliner, I'm hearing that that's important. What about, outside of the home? Like when you're out in the community, what do you want to be able to do there? And really, I'm just trying to figure out what she wants to be able to do. Get her outside of the house that she is homebound in, and figure out what are some other meaningful activities to her. She's like, well, I really like to go to the mall, and me and my daughter, we usually go to lunch at a restaurant. And so I was like, okay, I'm getting warmer. I'm like, okay, Paula. So any difficulty there you think that you would have, getting inside and I'm like getting up and down from the chair at the restaurant, right? So, and I'm not laying on her right away. I'm just kind of being curious, any difficulty that you have getting inside, getting up and down from the chair. And you can see like something clicks in her, and she's like, yeah, well, I don't want my daughter to have to help me get up. And I was like, okay, like Tell me more about that, Paula. Well, it's really embarrassing because my daughter, we're sitting down at lunch and she has to come over and she has to like tug on my arms to get me to stand. And everyone's in the restaurant and it's really embarrassing. Boom, cha-ching. Like, that's it. Now I know what I'm selling. Now Paula is aware of what her ultimate goal is. She wants to be able to go to the mall, go to lunch with her daughter, and her daughter does not have to pull her to stand. I know exactly what my assessments and what my plan of care is going to look like, right? So if you're imagining, okay, what else surrounds, not just being able to get out of the chair, what else surrounds that entire context? Paula's going to have to be able to get out of the car. She's going to have to walk through the parking lot. She's going to be able to have to look both ways. She's going to have to be able to look up, down, left, and right to look at environmental obstacles. She's going to have to negotiate a curb, maybe some stairs. She's going to have to do some prolonged walking. If she's shopping, she's going to have to be able to hold on to some shopping bags, reaching. When she gets into the restaurant, being able to stand up and sit down from that chair. So right there, I know exactly what I'm going to be working on. I know that I'm going to want to be doing a 30-second chair rise test. I know that I'm going to be doing a ton of lower extremity strengthening, that I'm going to be working on maybe some loaded carries. We're going to be working outside, walking with some head turns. I mean, this gives me exactly what to do. I don't have to guess. I'm not going to have to ask multiple times. I'm not going to have to use my brain more to come up with doing exercises that aren't meaningful because I have completely dialed that in. And now Paula knows what we're going to be working on because I'm explaining all of these things to her. I'm saying, okay, let's imagine you are at the mall and you're going through that exact scenario, right? You got to get out of the car, you got to look both ways. You're explaining all this to her, which is basically you telling her what you're going to be working on as well. So it's not just that you're going through this in your own head, you're verbalizing this to Paula right then and there. And then when you go see Paula next time, she's aware of exactly what you're working on. She knows exactly what to expect. And you're constantly asking her, just like, asterisk signs, that if you guys are in the ICE community, you know about asterisk signs. You're constantly going to be asking her, like, how have you been feeling getting up and down from your recliner, from your kitchen chair? When you had to go to the your doctor's appointment today, how are you doing getting in and out of the car or up and down from the chair in the doctor's office? You're checking in with her constantly. She constantly knows what you're moving towards. That is so important, not only for the patient. Like, she is going to get better faster, know exactly what to expect, right? But for us as clinicians, I mean, it is so much easier when you are dialed in, when you take the time to dial in. I don't have to use energy to come up with things. I know exactly what I'm going to be working on. It's going to help me save up energy so that when I get home from my day of taking care of humans all day, I have more energy to hang out with my boyfriend and see my friends and go to the gym and work on all of the other project initiatives that I'm doing outside of my daily clinical care. Like, this is also selfish. Like, we can make our work so much easier. And if you want to think about productivity, when you guys are dialed into your goals, which dials you into your plan of care, your exercises, you can document so much less and you can document so much faster. So our efficiency goes through the roof. And again, to kind of close this all out, when we are dialing this in with our patient realizes their goals. We see that spark where they really get to think, wow, this is why I want to get stronger. And they realize that. That feels so good. And we all want to feel good about the work that we're doing. And to close it out with another quote that I absolutely love, in addition to the one I mentioned earlier of Jeff Moore's. It's one by Maya Angelou, and I have this written everywhere as well. And it says, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. And I come back to that every single day, multiple times a day. Am I proud of myself? Am I proud of the work that I'm doing? If I am proud of the work I am doing, I feel immensely successful. And that just gives you the fire and gives you the energy to keep doing that over and over and over again. And that is just compound interest. That ROI is massive. All right, guys, that is all for today. Any questions, comments, any patient stories, anything you want to share, as always, reach out. And with that, have an awesome Wednesday.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.